This is Michelle, and you're listening to Words with Michelle, the podcast, a show where I sit down and have conversations with influencers on a range of topics, anything from natural hair, employment, discrimination, food, relationships, and everything in between. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. If you want to send me an email, hit me up at michelle@wordsmichelle.com. Thanks for tuning into the latest episode of Words with Michelle, the podcast. I've been wanting to write about the launch of my book for the past 3 weeks. I've been bubbling with anticipation for 21 days. I launched my book at Word on the Street, and if you're not too familiar with Word on the Street, it is an annual book and publishing festival in Toronto that happens at the end of September. I was lucky to be involved in the event, but I'll tell you how lucky I was later on in the show. So before I get deep into the latest episode, I'd like you to know that this episode was sponsored by my book, Words with Michelle, Inspirational Conversations with Today's Black Canadian Changemakers. Words with Michelle, Inspirational Conversations with Today's Black Canadian Changemakers delves into the powerful, candid conversations with trailblazers who are reshaping our communities and inspiring change. Each dialogue explores their unique journeys, struggles, and triumphs, offering readers not just inspiration, but actionable insights. This book is a celebration of resilience, creativity, and the rich tapestry of Black Canadian experiences. Whether you're looking to be inspired or seeking guidance on your own path, these stories will resonate deeply and ignite your passion for change. You can purchase a copy on Amazon.ca and Amazon.com. I hope you enjoy. Now back to the show. As of early May of this year, I was fully focused on working on my book. I actually didn't decide on a firm date for the completion of the book. I was anxiously working to finish it, but I wasn't working with an end date in mind. My business coach Karen told me to not rush and take my time, but then she also suggested that I work on it as much as possible. Yep, I was confused. But I did work on it. When Karen was doing some research on where I should promote the book, she stumbled on some information about Word on the Street. She went to the website, but then she said the exhibitor application had passed, and the exhibitor application would be for anyone who wanted to promote their book. She said that I should contact someone to be placed on the wait list. So I quickly sent an email on July 19th to the contact person, and I received a reply stating that I was placed on a wait list. So when I read that, I didn't want to get my hopes up too high. I didn't tell anyone except family. There was no guarantee that I'd be part of Word on the Street. On July 22nd, I received another email telling me that there was a cancellation from another vendor and I was accepted to be part of the festival. Oh, your girl screamed at the top of her lungs. I was so happy and grateful. I was in disbelief, literally beside myself. I was happy, surprised, anxious, and I felt all the feels. A few days later, I paid for my table at Word on the Street, and now I had a date to work towards. The next thing was I had to finish my book. I won't share with you the countless hours that I sat in front of my computer slaving over the book, while also trying to put out a podcast and have a life. Okay, scratch the last part. I did not have a life. I did not do anything. I never went out. The summer came and went, and I spent my days locked in my room on my laptop. The last time I went out for fun was June 25th, 2024. A friend happened to be in my neighborhood and asked if I was free for lunch. I knew I had work to do, but I couldn't say no. So we met up for lunch, hung out for a bit, and then I made my way back home to spend a few more hours on my laptop. I should mention that I did finish the book on August 14th. It was edited and ready for the printers. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked. Now back to the launch. The reason that Word on the Street was my unofficial book launch is that I didn't have the money to throw a party to formally launch my book. I wanted to have one, but when I looked at my bank account, it wasn't going to happen. so I had to use Word on the Street as my official launch. So the planning on the backhand of the launch was extensive. I created a series of posts promoting the launch and letting everyone know on social media that my first book was coming out on September 28th. I hosted an Instagram live revealing the book cover, and I dropped a few posts divulging who's in the book. I called bookstores telling them about the book and about having my book on their shelves. I put in the work. All of this was due to build anticipation and to get people to come to Word on the Street and check out my book. On September 27th, the day before Word on the Street, I was anxious, totally in my feelings. I was scared. I didn't know if anyone would show up to the festival, I would make a sale, but what I was most scared of was talking to people. Yes, I know that sounds crazy because I am a podcaster and I talk to people every day or all the time. But I knew what I wanted to say, but every time I practiced before the event, it never went the way I wanted it to go. So I thought to leave it alone and just get ready for bed. So before I went to bed that night, I packed up everything. I got my books, my 6-foot banner, and the other essentials I needed for the day, and I got ready for bed. I was going to meet Karen and her cousin Kara, who agreed to help me for the 2-day event. On the day of the festival, I got up, had breakfast, got ready for the day, and then put on my custom Words with Michelle t-shirt, which was a present from a very sweet friend, and then I jumped into an Uber. When I hit the location, which was Queen's Park in Toronto, my heart leapt. I wasn't really nervous. I was excited about what the day had to offer. My personal goal for the day was to have fun and, of course, sell books. I thought I'd sell 20, 50 if I was really lucky, but I just really wanted to have fun. So after Karen and her cousin and I set up, we started talking to anyone that passed by. Karen was an absolute pro and had everyone mesmerized about the book. After a short time, we sold some books. I was beside myself, pure delight. Someone bought my book. That in itself is astounding. It was awesome and validating. Someone wanted to read my story, my words, my thoughts. Someone who wasn't a friend or family bought my book. The momentum stayed like that for most of the day. I was pleasantly surprised to have a huge crowd around my stall for people waiting to speak to me about my book. Luckily, Karen was there to chat with others and tell them about me. I actually felt like a celebrity. Don't get it twisted. It didn't go to my head, but it did feel good to be introduced as the author behind the book. I knew I was the author behind the book because I wrote the book, but that title meant so much to me. It's a title I've wanted to add to my name for as long as I can remember. So the day was monumental, to say the least. Meeting new people and seeing my friends and family coming to support me was everything. The day couldn't get any better. Well, it kind of did. By the end of the day, I surpassed my goal. I thought I would sell 20 books. I ended up selling 42. That was crazy. It was so surreal. My book launch rocked. I went back the next day and it was just as great. It was a little slow in the beginning, but the amount of interest in my book was mind-boggling. Many people approached me and asked me to speak at elementary schools, women's organizations, and libraries. The list goes on and on. I couldn't believe that there was so much attention and the people that wanted to hear my story. I couldn't ask for a better launch. Since that day, I've had a couple of book signings and an interview and was interviewed on another podcast. Feeling so grateful for it all. I want to thank everyone that helped me to get this book out there. You know who you are. So that's it, y'all. That's a bit about my book signing. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you bought the book, let me know and leave a review on Amazon or Goodreads or whatever platform you use to review books. Thanks again for listening to the show. Bye. Thanks again for listening to the latest episode of Words with Michelle, the podcast. Just a reminder, you can subscribe to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can also listen to the show on my blog at wordswithmichelle.com. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to provide a comment or feedback, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can email me at michelle@wordswithmichelle.com. You can also email me if you're interested in sponsoring an episode. Thanks again for listening to the show, and until next time, bye.